Welcome to another Uncle Boogie production. Today we have a true crime story about a superstar that in the 80s was a household name. In the world of professional wrestling, few names evoke as much awe and controversy as Jimmy Superfly Snuka. To millions, he was a pioneer, a high-flying superstar whose athletic feats redefined what was possible in the ring. But behind the curtain, Snuka's life was shadowed by a tragic death, allegations of violence, and decades of unresolved questions. This is the story of Jimmy Snuka, his rise, his fall, and the crime that still haunts his legacy. Jimmy Superfly Snuka was born James Wiley Smith on May 18, 1943, in the lush islands of Fiji. His early years were shaped by movement and hardship. With a Fijian mother and a sailor father, Snuka's childhood was spent between Fiji and Hawaii. In Hawaii, he discovered a passion for bodybuilding, quickly rising through the ranks to claim titles such as Mr. Hawaii, Mr. Waikiki, and Mr. North Shore. Despite his success, bodybuilding offered little financial security. Drawn by the promise of a better life, Snuka transitioned to professional wrestling in 1967. His natural athleticism and imposing physique made him a standout from the start, setting the stage for a career that would soon reach global heights. Snuka's wrestling journey began in regional promotions, but his star truly ascended in the 1970s and 1980s. By the time he joined the World Wrestling Federation, WWF, now WWE, Snuka had developed a style unlike anything fans had seen before. He soared from the top rope with his signature move, the Superfly Splash, captivating audiences and inspiring a new generation of wrestlers. His feuds with legends like Bob Backlund and Roddy Piper became the stuff of wrestling lore. Under the management of Captain Lou Albano, Snuka's charisma and aerial prowess made him a fan favorite. In 1996, he was inducted into the WWF Hall of Fame, a testament to his influence on the sport. He also became the inaugural ECW World Heavyweight Champion, cementing his place in wrestling history. Snuka's legacy extended through his family. His children, Sim and Tamina Snuka, would both follow in his footsteps, with Tamina becoming a prominent WWE star in her own right. But Snuka's story is not just one of triumph. It is also a cautionary tale about fame, violence, and the limits of justice. On May 10, 1983, after a WWF television taping in Allentown, Pennsylvania, tragedy struck. Snuka's 23-year-old girlfriend, Nancy Argentino, was found gravely injured in their hotel room at the George Washington Motor Lodge. She was rushed to Sacred Heart Medical Center, where she died from undetermined craniocerebral injuries, a medical term for traumatic brain injury. The autopsy, conducted by Dr. Isidore Mihalakis, painted a grim picture. Argentino had suffered a head injury consistent with her head striking a stationary object while moving. But that was not all. Her body bore over 24 cuts and bruises, not just on her head, but on her arms, hands, back, buttocks, legs, and feet. The injuries suggested a pattern of serious domestic abuse. Dr. Mihalakis recommended the case be treated as a homicide until proven otherwise. Despite these findings, no charges were filed at the time. The investigation was marked by confusion and conflicting stories. Snuka claimed Nancy had slipped and fallen, first saying it happened at a rest stop, then later stating she fell in the hotel room's bathroom. Witnesses contradicted his account, and police reports noted inconsistencies in his story. The Allentown tragedy was not the first sign of trouble. Just months earlier, in January 1983, Snuka was arrested for assaulting Argentino in a New York hotel. She initially pressed charges, but later recanted, allegedly after intervention from Vince McMahon, the powerful WWF chairman. This incident, and the subsequent lack of prosecution, would later fuel suspicions that Snuka's celebrity status shielded him from consequences. In 1985, Nancy Argentino's family, frustrated by the lack of criminal charges, filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Snuka. They won a $500,000 judgment, but Snuka never paid a cent. For Nancy Argentino's family, the pain never faded. Her sister, Louise, spoke out about the frustration of seeking justice in a case clouded by celebrity and conflicting accounts. The $500,000 wrongful death judgment remained unpaid, a symbol of unresolved justice and the enduring impact of the tragedy. Even as legal battles swirled, Snuka continued to appear at WWE events until 2015. For decades, the case languished. But in 2013, investigative reporting by the Morning Call newspaper uncovered documents and evidence that reignited interest. Investigators and journalists noted inconsistencies in his story, including claims about stops during travel that were contradicted by witnesses. The Lehigh County District Attorney reopened the case, and in 2015, a grand jury indicted Snuka on charges of third-degree murder and involuntary manslaughter, the oldest case to result in charges in county history. The trial, however, would never reach a conclusion. Diagnosed with stomach cancer in August 2015, he underwent surgery but never recovered. By 2016, Snuka's health had deteriorated. Between his battle with stomach cancer and suffering from dementia, he was ruled mentally unfit to stand trial. On January 3, 2017, the charges were dismissed. Less than 2 weeks later, on January 15, 2017, Jimmy Superfly Snuka died at age 73 in Pompano Beach, Florida. In his 2012 autobiography, he wrote, "Many terrible things have been written about me hurting Nancy and being responsible for her death, but they are not true." Yet, questions lingered. Nancy's family would later say it was muddled by Snuka's fame and the influence of those around him. Throughout his life, Snuka denied any responsibility for Nancy Argentino's death. In his final years, Snuka's wife joined a class-action lawsuit against WWE, alleging that he and other wrestlers suffered long-term neurological injuries, including chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE, from repeated head trauma in the ring. The lawsuit was dismissed in 2018. An autopsy revealed he had CTE, a condition linked to behavioral changes and memory loss in athletes who suffer repeated brain injuries, adding another layer of complexity to the story of his life and actions. Jimmy Superfly Snuka's life is a study in contrasts. He was a trailblazer in the wrestling world, a performer whose daring moves and magnetic personality left an indelible mark on the sport. But his legacy is forever shadowed by the death of Nancy Argentino, a case that remains, in the eyes of many, unresolved. The unanswered questions, the allegations of abuse, the influence of powerful figures in the wrestling industry, and the failure of the justice system to bring closure, all combine to make Snuka's story one of the most compelling and troubling in wrestling history. This has been Uncle Boogie Productions. If you found this story compelling, subscribe for more deep dives into the untold truths behind the legends of sports and entertainment.